Welcome to Texas football. Time for lunch with the coaches. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Bob Shipley and Bryan Erwin. This episode brought to you, as always, by Laura Baker of Keller Williams Realty and the Andy Allen team. Coaches, it's been a long season. We're gonna talk a little bit about the game on Friday and get y'all's perspective, because I know you both have your thoughts on first and goal and second and goal from the one. But I want to put this out in a more macro, start with a more macro discussion here. And Bob, I'll start with you. Was this, in your opinion, a successful season? It ended at the same place it did last year.
Yeah.
First and goal in the red zone, etc. Final four. In your opinion, was this a successful season for Texas?
Hell yes. You look over the last 15 years, and to be a semifinalist 2 years in a row, that's, I think, where all of us as Longhorn fans or Longhorn alumni or Longhorn prior employees like I was, this is the expectation that we've all had forever, especially in the last 15 years. That's why we've been so frustrated, because we feel like we're capable of being a top 14 every single year. I do. We should be every single year. And I think we're on track to doing that now. I think it was a great season. I think, we rode Quinn as far as we could ride Quinn. I think Quinn had a great game. I think Quinn did what he was coached to do. He came through in times when he needed to come through. But I just don't know that we're athletically up to par with Ohio State. And having said that, I want to throw it to Bryan and see what he has to say about that. He is renowned for his talent evaluation. And although we'd all like to think we're at the same par at Ohio State, I don't know, Bryan. What do you think?
I agree with you 100%, Bob. 100%. We're, one of the first notes I've got written down after that game was they had the better football team. They had the better players overall. They were faster. They were more physical. They compressed space on defense. They tackled well. So many times we catch the ball and we get no yards after the catch. They catch the ball, they get 4, 5, 6 yards after the catch. It's just that compression of space. They're so fast. They're so physical. Their defensive front, their running backs ran with authority. Their defensive backs hit and tackled with authority. Yes, I felt like Ohio State was the better football team overall. Were we blessed and fortunate to be in that position on the 1 yard line at the end of the game? Yes, and my hat's off. I mean, my gosh, the way our kids fought, man. That's the thing I'm most proud of, because I really feel like in my heart, Ohio State was just a much better football team, much faster, much more talented, much more physical. And I just am so proud of the way our guys fought, because they fought their way back into the game and kept it a game. At one point in time, my brother texted me in the second quarter. He said, well, it looks like it's going to be another nail biter, like the week before. And I said, I hope, because I had the feeling that Ohio State team could get away from us in a hurry. So coaches did a great job. Players did a great job of keeping that game close. We said if we could keep it within 7 going into the fourth quarter, it'd be fantastic. We were tied going into the fourth quarter. So, man, our guys, what a great year. What a great game. We got Texas fight back, Bob. That's what we got. We got Texas fight back. There's no more wondering, in my opinion, are our guys going to show up? Are our guys going to play hard? Are our guys going to fight? Is Texas going to fight? I mean, Texas is going to fight, and we've got that back, and that's all I care about. We get beat in the quarterfinals, we get beat in the semifinals, we make it to the championship, we win it. It first starts with that, and that's what I care about. And the championship's going to come. We're going to win the big one here pretty soon. It's just so hard, and we got to acquire a little bit more talent. We've got to get a little bit more season. You think back over the year, you beat Texas A&M, you beat OU, you beat Florida, you beat Michigan, you go 13-3, and you lose to Georgia. You lose to freaking Georgia, and then you line up and lose this last one. And I think it's just a fantastic year on behalf of Texas Longhorns.
Look, they lost to two teams that had more talent than them. That's it. And that's one of the things that I kept going back on is Ohio State is one of, and Georgia are two of the only teams that are in that category. You talk about winning at A&M. I mean, that was a huge game. And they physically dominated A&M, by the way. It just happened. You know, they clearly went in there and beat them up. They took Arkansas. Another big game like that. Oklahoma beat them bad. You know, I feel like there's just a lot of positives that came out of the season. I think that when y'all talk about it, though, I think this is important. When y'all say, look, Ohio State looked faster. They looked bigger. They looked stronger, more physical. They did, in my opinion, as well. Texas, you got to remember, is a year or two really behind those guys. Even though, because Sark didn't start accumulating those classes, like all these juniors that are going pro right now, whether it's Jaden Blue or Kelvin Banks, et cetera, right? Those guys were Sark's first real recruiting class. Well, Ryan Day's been doing this for 5 years at Ohio State and getting top 5 recruiting classes. So Texas doesn't really have that amp up level. We'll see what next year looks like, because I think what y'all will find out, and I obviously follow recruiting much closer than you guys and whatnot. They are getting those guys where the depth of the team starts showing up. And that's really what y'all are talking about. It wasn't necessarily that Will Howard was better than Quinn Ewers, or it was the fact that they had 2 running backs like Keyshawn Judkins and Travion Henderson. They had 6 defensive linemen that are going to be in the NFL. They had two linebackers that are upperclassmen and going to be in the NFL. You know, it's like.
Yeah, this is 2 years in a row, Bobby, where we got knocked out by a team that had superior, elite receivers. 2 years in a row. Washington last year, those cats were unbelievable. And, you know, I didn't know how good Igbuka was. I look out and they're projecting him 4th in the draft. You know, we know about Jeremiah Smith. So, you know, just some freaks at wide receiver. And we did our best to slow them down. And you know, they took advantage of some other things. But we made them beat us left-handed. And that's hats off to PK.
Yeah, I agree with that. Thanks, Ryan, for saying that. Let me ask you this. As you guys look ahead, improved talent level, just keep adding to it is certainly one thing Texas needs to do, right? What are some other things that Sark needs to, and his staff, and even maybe Torrey Beckton, the strength and conditioning, whoever, right? General manager Brandon Harris, what do they need to do this offseason to kind of take it to the next step in y'all's opinion? And feel free, either of you, to step in and add to what one another says. Bob, I'll let you start.
Yeah, I think with the recruiting class we have, we're gonna catch up. So right now, Sark, in my mind, we've had to compete against the elites and try to out-finesse them. And Bryan has been very vocal about this, and I agree with him 100%. Finesse teams don't win championships. They get you close. They can get you close, and it got us close. But we're still having to play too much finesse because we just don't have the dominant players top to bottom. Now, if we had C.J. Baxter this year, maybe different. But we just don't have the depth and the elite players in every single position to be able to just line up on that 2nd and 1 and say, okay, we got 2 or 3 plays here. We're going to score. We had to try to finesse, and we saw how that worked. And so I'm hoping as we get these great recruiting classes on campus that we transform ourselves into finesse as we need to finesse, but also line up and beat people's butt on the line of scrimmage with elite talent. And I think that's where we're heading. But I just don't think – I think that Sark has made us competitive through finesse football, but to put us over the top and win this time of year, it has to be because we have the best athletes, the best scheme, the best off-season program, fill in the blank, whatever it is that we're lacking. we're going to get there. I believe we're going to get there. And I think this next recruiting class will go a long way to help us get there. But we have to be able to have the talent top to bottom on the roster to be able to finesse when we want to finesse and line up and smash mouth when we need to smash mouth. And I think that's what's separating us right now from Notre Dame, from Ohio State, maybe even from Penn State, and certainly Georgia.
Yeah, I agree. I think the finesse word Bob used, we've used it repeatedly over the last couple of weeks. And, Oregon was a finesse team. We were a finesse team. We're not truly a finesse team. We're pretty physical, defense and things. But, we're not truly a finesse team. But compared to Ohio State, we're a finesse team. Compared to Georgia, we're a finesse team. And that's what we're talking about. And that's what Bob's referring to. I think also what kind of comes to my mind is you can't trick your way to a championship. And hats off to Sark. He's put us in the best position to win games and win championships. There's no doubt about it. He's smarter than we are. He knows what he's got to do. He knows we need to be able to run the football. He knows we've got to be physical, but you can't trick your way there. When we went forward on fourth down right before the half, that was a ballsy call. That was a huge call that Sark kept us in that game. Now, it really didn't net score-wise do anything because they ended up getting the screen right, the long screen play. So it was a net zero by us going down and scoring. But if we hadn't gotten that fourth down and one, they're going to go down and get a field goal at least. So now they're up, 10-0 minimum. I thought that was a fantastic decision. I hate the call. I hate that we have to snap it in between the tight end's legs back to our 5-star quarterback and him keep it on a sweep and fake the option pitch and duck it up in there and get knocked woozy. I hate that we got to do it that way. I really do. But the decision was fantastic. You can't trick your way to a championship. You can't trick your way down the goal line, and be in the pistol and toss it out of the pistol. I mean, if you're going to toss it out of the eye, let's go, baby. But you can't toss it out of the pistol. The back's catching it 8 yards deep, 9 yards deep, and you catch it out of the eye, you're catching it about 5.5, and you're rolling. You just can't trick your way there. You can't finesse your way there, like Bob said. So what I would do, I would start spring ball the first day in pads. The ball's on the 1 yard line. The ball goes to the one, the very first full contact drill we do. And we're going to let the fighters fight, and we're going to let everybody else do what they do. But we got to establish that mentality of, like Bob said, of being physical, being able to go get it. And we got some tricks up our sleeves from time to time. But when push comes to shove, you give me 4 downs from the 1 yard line, I need 9 inches of play, and we're going to score.
This is interesting because I thought y'all both might say, oh, they need to improve on the red zone, or they need to work on special teams. I think that with y'all, that's a given, right? Coaches are going to work on that regardless. Y'all are talking about more changing the mentality of what you're dealing with here, right? I mean, y'all are trying, hey, we need to change, because Texas was not always, to Brian's point, Texas was not always a finesse team. I mean, they rolled A&M physically, right? They rolled some teams physically. Yeah, they did that. But there were times when the other team had the talent advantage, they felt they were reverting into a finesse team. And that's what y'all are talking about. So let's change that at the outset as we get better and better players. And it's not like Texas didn't have talent this year. Texas had a lot of talent. You're going to have 10 plus guys drafted potentially. But even so, there's a level there that you saw that y'all thought was a little different. All right. I want to go to the next question, but before I do that, I want to say thank you to our sponsor, and thank you to Laura very, very much. She's been a sponsor for Lunch with the Coach for 2 years now. We appreciate her so much. That's Laura Baker. If you're moving to, from, or within the Austin area and need someone that is a lifelong Austinite and real estate expert, reach out to Laura and her team. Laura at andyallenteam.com, 512-784-0505, 512-784-0505. That's Laura Baker of Keller Williams Realty. Thanks, Laura, for your sponsorship. All right, guys, y'all have talked a little bit about this. It was a good season. Proud of the team, how they fought, and how maybe they go forward. What are some of the other takeaways from this season for y'all? Whether it's like I'll give you one for me. PK and what he did with the defense this year, I thought was tremendous. When he first showed up at Texas, you had to wonder, is he the answer at defensive coordinator? I mean, they look bad his first year. Every year he's gotten better. As the defense, as he's gotten the pieces to the puzzle that he needs, right? And he's developed players along the way. I think that's one of the bigger pieces to me. We were worried whether or not he could ever get a secondary that could really match people, and do something. But he did that. What are some of the things that were y'all's takeaways looking at it from a coach's viewpoint? Bryan, you want to go first on this?
Yeah, I mean, if you're being, kind of critical, I think red zone, you referred to it a while ago, that's certainly way up there, red zone issues, and not only red zone issues, but goal line issues, and maybe even fourth down and short issues throughout the season. And it kind of goes all hand in hand when you're talking about fourth and short or you're talking about goal line. It's pretty much the same. And then red zone stuff. And, we've heard the scuttlebutt of, should Sark give up play call? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think he needs to be the play caller. Now, what I would like to see him do, can you have a red zone coordinator? Can you have a goal line coordinator? Ball gets to the 25, ball gets to the 20. This other guy takes over that's got more time to you could consider doing something like that. I've done that in the past. And from a situational standpoint, Bob talked about it, I think offline about, the 2-point situations. And, you got a 2-point coach, you got guys that can study that stuff all offseason while Sark doesn't have time doing it. But, situationally, you go into every offseason that you got to find those 2, 3, 4 things to improve on. We did it last year, and I think we did. Last year it was, we couldn't get a pass rush and we couldn't cover anybody. Well, guess what? That wasn't the problem. We fixed it. We fixed it. So, I think that consideration, possibly having a situational coordinator on offense. Also, we should never, ever go into another season in our time where we don't have an elite punter and elite kicker. We've got to go get them every year, no matter what. We got to get an elite kicker, got to get an elite punter, and and that to me, I mean, obviously you're acquiring talent everywhere else, the best that you possibly can. You want to have the best this and the best that, but culture-wise, we're where we need to be. We're a top 2, top 3 team in the country right now. And, I've got no complaints. Sark knows what he's doing. They critique this stuff all day, every day. And I trust him and his staff. I trust what they're doing. I trust what they're teaching our kids. Most importantly, I like the Texas fight that we've got.
Gotcha. So you of all the things you saw this year, you thought that it kind of reestablished that. And what I mean by that is when they go 5-7, you just don't. I mean, they gave up 50 at home to Kansas, 50 plus.
Yeah.
Then they go 8-5, and you say, okay, some things are going back in the right direction. Then they win and win the Big 12, and they look good. But this is the year where you saw them just affirm that it wasn't Johnny come lately. It was.
Yeah, Bobby and Bob, and to our fans, I mean, we've all been there where you're wondering what team's going to show up. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, even in Sark's first year, we were just so bad on defense. I can remember Baylor running through us like crap through a goose. And I mean, you're like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. But you always wondered where we're going to show up, where we're going to lay it on the line, where we're going to be ready to play. I trust this program now. I trust Sark. I trust Texas fight. I trust what we got going on in the hallways and in the weight room and in the locker room and on the field. I trust it now. I mean, I'm proud now. There's been times where I'm like, man, we're going to show up. You got an LSU buddy. Well, LSU always plays hard, or you got a Alabama buddy and Alabama always plays hard. Now I'm proud. the way we played the other night and how hard our kids played and kept us in that game and fought, that's the kind of football program we want. And I think we're there. We just got to keep on keeping on.
Bob, what about you? Things that you saw this year in retrospect that you want to point out?
Well, I think Bryan hit the nail on the head. I mean, the only thing we're lacking is that tough-nosed, aggressive offense that we need to develop this offseason with this new class we have coming in, the new freshmen, the new transfer portal guys, making sure we're getting guys that can allow us to impose our will offensively. That's what we haven't been able to do, which is why we've had to be so finesse on offense. We haven't quite been able to impose our will. I felt like we had the offensive line this year, and it's CJ not been hurt, I think we would have had a different season in terms of being able to impose our will because we had that great running back. We had good running backs, but we didn't have that great running back, the one that Nick Saban said he's the best one that he had seen, you know. Mm-hmm. And with that guy on the bench, we did admirably, but we didn't have that back and that mindset offensively to be able to blow our necks, get a first down, impose our will upon the defense. That's the next step to me in this offensive process. Our defense, I think we figured it out. We just have to continue to keep top-level talent coming in defensively and continue to grow. I think Johnny Nansen was one of the best hires we've made since Sark has been here. I think you can see a change in the defense and his influence on the defense. I think the secondary did an incredible job from a year ago, what we were talking about them. Well, even in the spring, I mean, we saw it in, so many of the last games last year that our secondary was, had so many holes in it and we couldn't count on them. Now we can count on them. We just need an offense. We need to keep stacking that defense. We need an offense to build the mindset that we can impose our will on somebody else or we can finesse them. And those are the ones that wins, the one that can impose your will or finesse you, either one. And I think we're very close to being able to do that.
I look at it and I see what y'all are saying. Y'all want to beat teams in various ways. And you mentioned offensive line, right, Bob, or running backs. Well, Bryan just mentioned punter and kicker even. Texas just got a punter from Utah last month. Second team all Pac-12 last year, averaged 45 yards a boot. Well, Michael Kern actually punted pretty well in that the Ohio State game. Hats off to him, right?
Yes.
But you wanted that kind of performance all season long, right? Mm-hmm. And we know Bert Auburn got replaced in the Ohio State game. Now, but Bert Auburn, if you would have looked at him, here's my problem. Bert Auburn, if you would have looked at him in off his 2023 year, you absolutely, I mean, if he would have gone in the transfer portal, everybody would have tried to pick him up, right? But then he comes back this year and goes 6 of 14 beyond 40. So but the point that y'all are trying to make, and I agree with, is you're trying to improve every single aspect of your team so that there are as few holes or as few chinks in the armor as humanly possible. Never going to be perfect, right? Your whole team's not going to be first-round draft picks and, perfect players, but you try to do as much as you can. I love the idea of changing the mentality from not necessarily from a finesse team, but from a team that can do it both against everybody.
Well, the three losses we had, I don't know the exact stats, but I know enough to know that, Georgia twice, we didn't pay a drop in the run game. And then in the last game against Ohio State, I think we had 50, 55, 58 yards rushing or something. That's not what the championship ball club is not rushing for 50 yards in a game. They're just not. And so that's what Bob's talking about. We got to be, approaching that 100-yard mark against the best defensive front in the country, whether it's Georgia, whether it's Ohio State. You're not gonna rush for 175, 200 yards, but you can dang sure get to the 100-yard mark, the 125-yard mark. And with a more mobile quarterback, that time's coming too.
Yeah. You think that'll help a lot, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. That's going to do it. Thanks again to our friend Laura Baker, the realtor of choice in the Austin area. Austin area, anywhere in Greater Austin, 512-784-0505. That's 512-784-0505. Laura Baker with Keller Williams Realty and the Andy Allen team. Guys, this is going to be the last lunch with a coach for a while. Brian, I hope you guys stay warm this winter. Coach, we'll see you every so often here on Winning Drive and whatnot. I hope you guys have a good one. And thank y'all so much for joining us each and every week. I know fans really enjoy hearing from two former successful coaches like yourselves. I get people tell me that all the time. So I appreciate you guys very much. For Brian Erwin, Bob Shipley, and everyone out there, hook 'em, guys.
Hook 'em.